Oh, durka durka durka.
All right, so I'm going to talk about my favorite brand, budget brand. So I collect uh, folders. I collect not clones. I don't know anything about OTFs, and I like just solid knives that work well, and I like to fidget with them, and I like a good value. And to me, the Chinese knives today, March 2024, from a handful of brands are the clear winners and much better investment than a Spyderco, Benchmade, whatever. So I want to talk about my favorite brand today, which is Miguron. You can see it there in the pivot. And I'll talk about a few reasons why this is my favorite brand. All right, so Miguron knives. Let's just get a few things out of the way. There are premium Miguron knives that are in titanium. I don't collect those. I only have one premium knife. This is the Velona in carbon fiber and M390, which, well, it's very subtly marked, which I'll talk about later. But this is a great knife, but there's nothing better about this knife than the budget version in G10 and 14C28N. So this is what this video is about. Budget Miguron. $40 to $60 on all of these. I'm not going to tell you what the price is on all of these. Some of them might be slightly more, slightly less when you watch this, whatever. This is the range, and so this is the range of that I like to buy in. First, let's talk about the blade steel. To me, March 2024, this is your best signal for you buying a good knife today, because there are plenty of D2 knives, and I know D2 is fine, but if a company is doing it in 14C28N, it's better steel, it's stainless, and it means that they're paying attention and they're trying, and they're probably trying to appeal to you, the knife nerd. And so all these knives that I'm going to show you today are 14C28N, and that's just a great value, period. So check. Now let's talk about the aesthetic. Great thing. What do you notice about this blade? Or what do you notice about this blade? There isn't all this garbage marking on it. I don't need your logo. Put your logo here. Fine. And this is a perfectly attractive logo to me. It's fine. I don't want your logo on the blade. And I may never buy an Ontario wrap because it just looks cheap to me. I want to see metal. I don't want to see logos. But the other part of the aesthetic, say besides these being clean, is all of these knives are pretty chunky. And that's a good thing for me. They're all pretty thick, okay? They're all pretty thick. Let's just see, so this is the Moyarl. And I don't have one of those fancy calipers that the other guys have. But this thing is about a ½ inch thick. And if this isn't your speed, then you shouldn't buy Miguron, because they just don't have a thin profile. There are plenty of nice knives around that do. So I like the Pyrite. This is the Pyrite Alt, and it's just skinnier. It just, hope you can see that, you know, you got chunky boy over here and skinny jeans over here, and there's nothing wrong with this. Just a personal thing. I like that knife a lot. This is the Penguin in titanium. I just got this. I really like this. It's cool color. It's also skinnier, and just has a different feel in the hand, and I just like the Miguron thing. All right, so we got some chunky but nice clean knives. Not a lot of decoration and extra crap. Now they're fidgety. They're all pretty fidgety. Some better than others, and I'm going to talk in the second half of this video about what I recommend and what my favorites are. But as an example, the Velona here in 14C28N, but in the green G10, it's got this flipper, which feels nice, but it's got something special. I have no other knife that is good at this. With this fuller, you get a really satisfying flick out of that. And pretty much all of these have multiple deployment methods, and they're all pretty smooth, and they all have a pretty nice action. This guy needs a little bit of oil maybe, but they're very satisfying to play with. Lastly, this is a bigger thing for most people. It's a bigger positive for other people than me. Almost all of these have a titanium pocket clip. I don't know why people love that, to be honest, because I find it a little hard to get in and out of my pants. Maybe my pants are different than your pants, but it's definitely a positive. These things cost like 15, 20 bucks, and a lot of people put them on their knives aftermarket. The only one that doesn't have it is the Takog, which is might be their oldest knife. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. It's definitely the cheapest, and it's real chunky, but they all have a pocket clip like this, and some of them, like here, this is the Pagos II. This is anodized, which is kind of a cool little look with this, plus the pivot collar, and it just makes it look like more than a $48 knife, you know. So these are a whole bunch of positives you're going to find across the product line that make it, to me, the best choice. You know, to me, it's the best thing going. But now I want to talk about which knife out of these I would recommend. What's my favorite? All right, so before I get into my choice, I want to outline the dimensions here, the differences between these budget models. And I don't have every single one of them. Let me just intro. I've got the Takog, the Pagos II. It's called 2 because the original one was the titanium one. The Velona. This is the small Velona. This is not the big boy. I don't have the 4-inch blade. This is about 3.5 or 3.75. It's about 3.5. Still a really, really nice knife. I have the Moyarl. I have the Moyarl in liner lock in G10, as well as the crossbar lock in micarta. Then I have, not going to put this in the budget category, but this is the Velona in premium materials. The Keryx in blue micarta. And then lastly, the Akri front flipper, big boy. So that's what I have. First of all, my first recommendation, in my experience with these Miguron knives, the G10 is better than the micarta, period. So I like a grippy knife, and here's the Keryx in micarta, and it's pretty smooth. This is a cool knife. I mean, and I think I like this as a badass blade shape, but it's a little bit smooth, and this one is a little bit big to me. And by the way, I don't love this non-matching backspacer. This is my least favorite of all of them. I have a different video about this, but this is the Moyarl and the crossbar lock, and I cannot reverse flick it, because my finger gets in the way. I guess I just did it barely, but it's hard, and that really annoys me. And I also don't like, this is slightly grippier, but also not my favorite. So the Akri is smooth, but to me the best is these guys, the Moyarl, the Velona, Pagos II, and the Takog in G10. Okay, second recommendation, I recommend going with the bigger knives. Let's put this aside for now. The bigger knives include, well, I just put it aside with the Keryx, but the Keryx, I think there's better options, and so the Velona and the Moyarl are pretty big knives. I have average size hands. This is a nice blade, 3.5 inches. Similar for the Moyarl. This one's got a really great flick. And the one that I think is underappreciated is this Pagos II. So these aren't these are medium-sized knives. I'm not saying big. And maybe you should go all the way to the full-size Velona. I don't have it, and I would be happy to hear in the comments that you should be doing that. But this is the cheapest one. It has a really nice, satisfying, really top flipper action, not front flicker. But this, to me, you can do better. Again, with this pocket clip. Not a negative to me, but this just feels like a small step down to me. It's an earlier knife. It's only got the thumb stud on the one side, and I'm gonna set this aside too. I wouldn't take the Takog is not my recommended knife. So these are the big knives. I'm gonna bring back the Keryx, and I like all of these, and they're all, as you can see, pretty similar, with the Akri being the biggest, and I think the toughest looking in the Keryx. But okay, so we're going big. Nice. Now, I mentioned this already. I do not like the crossbar lock in this Moyarl. Everything else I have is a liner lock. I like the liner locks in general. I just find them to be reliable and predictable. And then lastly, I would make a choice here based on your flickability. This Akri is a front flipper, and you can front flip it, and I obviously just did. It feels great once it's open. It's big. I do feel like I want to murder somebody with this, but it's a little bit awkward. If you had small hands, I think it could be quite awkward. You need to have a good grip with your finger here on the clip. Pull it open. So it takes just a little bit more of, like, if you reach in, there's a good chance you got to fumble with it a little bit, and I don't love that. So let's put this aside. The other guys here have great flickability, and that's why I think this Pagos II is underrated. So it's got a front flipper, which isn't the best, and you saw that I just kind of, I'm not performing under pressure here. Come on. And not the best. I mean, that's realistic, though. It's not as easy to do as the Takog, which is just really like swings out there. But the regular thumb stud action, and then this is the hidden gem. The reverse on the thumb stud on this knife is the best of any. It has this great little clicky flicky thing. I don't know what it is, why it sounds different, but man, that's good. It's got this little tung. Listen to this. If you can hear it, it's got this extra little. I fucked it up. Yeah, feels great. So keep that in the running. I showed you the fuller flick on this already, plus the back flipper. Nice. This has got an awesome reverse flick. And then the Keryx is good too. This guy's just a little bit bigger, bulkier, more angular, in a good way. And really good reverse flick. It just doesn't feel quite as, refined or whatever to me. So this would be, a solid knife to me, especially if you like a little bit bigger, more angular knife. These little drawbacks, and especially the micarta, the smooth micarta makes this not my thing. All right, so we covered the main things. Now let's talk about a winner among these three knives. All right, so now these are the top three knives for me in the Miguron budget line. We got the Moyarl, the Velona, and the Pagos II. As you can see, they're all pretty similar in size. The main differences being, I'm showing you, obviously there's different variations in color, but the variations in color are consistent within the brand. So you can use this to judge what it's going to look like. To me, the Moyarl is the best looking knife. I love the color gray. It looks a little different maybe in person or on video than you see in the pictures. I think it looks more less contrast between the gray PVD coating and the gray G10. But to me, this is the best looking knife. I do like the satin finish on this. It's a little bit dirty. It's got a really nice satin finish on the Velona, and I like that fuller. This is my least favorite blade shape out of all three. I find I don't know that it's a nice clean line on the top, but I find that I just think it's the least practical shape. So in terms of the looks, I'm going to say the looker of the bunch is the Moyarl, especially in gray. Other things, the grip, the feel on all these is really quite similar. And this guy's just a little bit small in the hand. None of these, because of this clip, really bother me. So, and with that, I'm holding them, and I don't really think that hot spots is a big fucking deal. Like, you're gonna go chop wood for 3 hours. I mean, whatever. So for feel, to me, if you like something a little thicker and a little bit more of a little chunkier, this Velona. But for feel, this just feels to me, because it's slightly more slender and everything is really rounded off. Really round in the Velona. There's no jimping, but it's really round. Oops, cut myself here. I'm gonna go with this for the feel. I'm gonna go with the Velona. Find my fucking thing. So this is gonna be the feel factor. Other distinguishing factors, really not too much in terms of weight that I would make a choice based on. But with the profile of the blade and the size, and this would be in third place. But I will say that very satisfying if you like if you like multiple deployment methods. That back flick is just the shit. And then the front is fine. I think this is very solid and underappreciated in general, and just seems to get talked about less. But I am going to put it in third place. So sorry, buddy, you get the bronze medal. Third. We'll put him aside, and now we're down to 2. And man, it's hard. Really great flick and great feel, and I just love these colors. The Velona in a different color, the small version, might be the thing. The reverse flick on the fuller is really nice. It feels a little more elegant. This feels a little chunkier. So between these two, for me, and I'm trying to remember, I don't remember if this is in gray, if this Velona small version is available in the same G10 end blade coating, and if it is, it would probably be the best combination. But I'm gonna go ahead and say, given the fact that I just think, I don't even love this blade shape, and it feels kind of like this grind. It feels, I don't know, it's like so a little bit too simple to me. Having a hard time being indecisive. You know, this is the one, the Velona is kind of what really got me into this brand, almost into budget knife collecting, wasting money on this shit in the first place. So I'm gonna have to go with this 3.5-inch Velona. It's like a little bit of an upset. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, but this is gonna be my guy right here. So we're gonna say Moyarl, second place, and our Velona here is first. Draw something around that. We're giving the title to the Velona. Well, here she is, and I pulled up White Mountain Knives. Unfortunately, it is out of stock, but this is the one you're looking at here, the small Velona drop point in green G10. But man, I think this guy right here, he might be it. I'm not going to spend $52, and I can't. I have to go find it on Amazon. They only sell these on Amazon and White Mountain Knives, unless you go through, I don't know if you can go through their website or if it's AliExpress or whatever. But anyway, Amazon or White Mountain Knives, and I think this is the guy right here. Velona 2. And let me just click through to show you here a few more of the stats, in case you're curious. You know what? This is the large Velona. Well, okay. didn't want to lead you astray. This is actually the proper one. We were looking at the large Velona. The small Velona has a 3.5 inch blade length, grade PVD. Their heat treatment, I don't know shit about that, but seems to be a little bit soft. But you know, what are you really using this for? Whatever. And it's a little heavy. I prefer my knives around 3.5 ounces, 3.5 to 4. But I think it's worth it for having a cool, really good looking knife. Yeah, so here she is. And just like I wanted to point out, to me, it looks like, well, you're not gonna be able to see it very well, but look at this knife here, and then in this picture, when you look at these pictures, it really looks like this is a really dark blade, but it's not. It's just a subtly different and slightly darker gray. But you know, it just looks different, and I can't say I like one way or the other, but this is gray, and in the pictures it looks dark gray, like charcoal, and like a blue gray, but in reality, it's pretty much gray. It's like that flat gray you see on cars these days. That's just a flat, no shine. That's the feel of this knife here. So here she is. Here she is, out of stock. Maybe it's an Amazon. Go buy the knives. You're not going to go wrong with anything Miguron. They're just great. So, all right, enough.